Hi, I'm Seraph Lore, and welcome to yet another video. So, I encountered this thread on Reddit, and I also watched a video from St. Tontas about this thread as well. And I want to read it as well and give my own thoughts on it. I know St. Tontas went into depth with this thread, but I want to do it as well, because I think this is an interesting topic to discuss about the community and about people's feelings on the game, and whether or not, their feelings are misguided or whatever. So, yeah, I'm going to take a look at it. I'm going to try my best to play good cop. I don't want to assume that this is an astroturfer or someone who means ill will or anything like that. So, yeah, let's just get through it. So it starts with this image of Augusta. Anyway, this may be slightly long. Read at your leisure. After reading countless community posts, I think it's time to lay things out clearly. This isn't ranting. This is a plea for issues that really must be addressed. There's a ton of emojis and emotes in this thread, or in this post. But first, thank you, Kuro Games. You made a game that redefines action combat in the gacha space. For that, we are grateful, of course. And Apple just isn't eaten, just rots. Okay, part 1. Problem still there. Locked farming regions for new characters. You let returning players pull Augusta and gave them her boss mats, but not the flowers needed to ascend. Most of these players barely reach Raguna. You can't expect them to rush 15-hour story content to finally level up their new character. Please unlock both materials, otherwise what's the point of farming bosses if the flowers are gated? A lot of players we have invited back are complaining about this. This is true. I've seen a lot of people who are upset that Augusta's flowers are region gated. I don't know why they did that. There is a shop that's supposed to sell them, but I think the shop is in Septimont and not not Raguna. So that is something they can look into. That's pretty reasonable. Very, very reasonable. Release and forget characters. Alright, this is a point of contention here. We spend money, free-to-play grind for months, just for characters to vanish from the story like they never existed. That's lazy and unfair. Old characters should reappear when the story logically calls for them. Reruns give enough revenue, so there's no monetary excuse. Now, depending on how you view things, this could be a good point or a bad point. In my opinion, I think it's, at least for the 1.0 characters, we're in 2.x now. The 1.0 characters have no business being here. So, I think it would be fine if they did more events in Jinjo that featured the Jinjo characters and the Black Shore characters. I think that would probably alleviate that feeling of this character just doesn't exist anymore. Especially for the 1.x cast. We currently have the Tower Defense event going on right now. So I think, it wouldn't be bad if a Black Shores character like Alto or Encore, is brought up in the Tower Defense mode. Either they're the ones who are doing it, or they're just in the cutscene that introduces or ends the mode. I haven't finished it yet, so maybe someone does appear, but yeah. Just having the existing roster appear in events instead of in the main story, I think that's perfectly reasonable. In the card game event, we did have Bran, Shakona, and a few others appear as well. Calcaro appeared at the end as well. Good old calculator. So, it seems like they are toying with the idea, but it feels like they haven't fully committed to it yet. Alright. Now, number 3. This is the most contentious part. Rover the Mary Sue. This is wrong. I'm just going to flat out say it. Since 1.1, Rover has been written as invincible, flawless, and untouchable. This is wrong. In 1.1, they needed to be saved by Chang Li several times, and especially in her character quest. During the Forlova quest, for the first time, the Mary Sue curse was broken. Rover did not get to save the damsel in distress. Rover failed to require the blue gem. This is on your part brilliant writing. You showed that Rover can fail, doesn't need to be a hero, and has her own subjective character flaws. What happened to that writing? Please show more of that. Stop hand-feeding us chronic, everything will be okay. Arcs, Rover doesn't need to be Superman. Yeah, as I said, Rover is not a Mary Sue. Especially after 1.0. Rover, well, even in 1.0, Rover doesn't do everything on their own. They need everything explained to them. They needed to be helped by Jian during the climax of 1.0. They're working with Yang Yang most of the time in 1.0 as well. So that's completely wrong. 1.1, I said before, they needed to be saved by Cheng Li several times. And once again, they need to have things explained to them by Jue as well. So that's not correct either. 1.3, the Black Shores, they failed to save the Shorekeeper, and they had to fight tooth and nail to get her back. If they truly were a Mary Sue, where they do everything right the first time, they wouldn't have needed to lose Shorekeeper for that to happen. And the list goes on. So this point is completely wrong. This person probably just hasn't, paid too much attention to the story. They probably just took it at surface level, which is fine. Not everyone needs to go balls deep into the story in order to, have a full understanding. They can just take a cursory look, watch the cutscenes once, set it and forget it, and that's perfectly fine too. But this is a bit of a... This isn't something that's actually, actually a thing. And with Rover and Furlova, it isn't just Rover saving the damsel in distress. That isn't the entire point of the quest. The entire point of Rover and Furlova's relationship is someone from Rover's past coming back to haunt him, even when he doesn't remember who they are in the first place. It isn't about saving some... And even in the other patch stories too, not all of them... Well, yeah, hardly any of them are about saving the damsel in distress. Sometimes Rover actually kills the damsel in distress. Looking at 2.2, he killed Cardathea, and then Imperator had to revive her. So, yeah, this is a completely wasted point here. This doesn't make any sense. This is awful. Moving on. Side characters reduced to accessories. Too often, region characters just orbit Rover instead of being absolute centerpiece of their own story. Canarella should have been there to the very end, and Jinshi's final confrontation should not have excluded Cheng Li. Please let regional characters shine over Rover. They're not going to do that, and I'll explain why. Rover is the main character of Wuthering Waves. I know, shocker, right? Wuthering Waves is Rover's story. They are the main character of the plot. Kuro should never and will never have other characters shine over Rover. Rover is the focus. They are the most important player in the story. Everyone else is the side characters. So, well, that's being a bit hyperbolic. Not everyone else is the side characters, but everyone else, they play second fiddle to Rover. Rover should and always be the mover and shaker of the story arcs. They should be the ones who either set things in motion or get something moving. And in that case, I don't think the story has done flawlessly in that regard. There are some parts in the story where it feels like Rover is more reactive than active, but we can go over that later. The unreasonable lack of 4-star characters. This is something that I do sort of agree with, but at the same time, we had an incident in Zenless Zone Zero where a very popular character was announced as an A rank, which is the 4-star in that game. So I don't think this is a completely good idea, because you're always going to run into the issue where there's a character that someone really likes, that a group of people like, and when they're announced as a 4-star, they get unreasonably upset. So it's a bit of a give and take issue with this problem here. And I don't think releasing 4 stars all the time is a good thing, but I do think they should release 4 stars some of the time. And having 4 stars be gimmicks or fill in some niches is perfectly fine too. This is a half-decent point here. Next, the Huanglong problem. New players still choke on Huanglong, so a common complaint when introducing friends to Wuwa. I would like to thank you for making QLL changes to Huanglong, but I hope they'll eventually much needed starter story as well. The beginning of the game still bleeds retention. So yeah, the 1.0 story is not very good, but I don't think Kuro should spend development time going back and reworking the story. I think they should just focus on making the later storylines better, more exciting, more engaging, that sort of thing. I'd rather they not spend development resources going back to 1.0 any more than they've already have. So, yeah, you could use 1.0 for events, or maybe to set up a new story, but going back and changing 1.0, I think this is misguided from OP here. Next, the Echo problem. Long-standing RNG issues to main stat change are very welcome, but the main issues, which are substats, I don't have any issues with the echoes anymore, especially after the main stat changer. I think the main problem is people keep blowing their loads and upgrading the echoes all the way, even though the substats they get are garbage. People should be upgrading substats one at a time. I think that will work out best, and if they see that they don't have crit or heavy attack or whatever they don't need, they just get rid of it. I think that's a good way to just mitigate the RNG. But if they do introduce a substat changer, I think just giving 1 to free-to-play and 2 to Battle Pass folks is perfectly fine. It will help reduce the grind and make the stats that you already have, or make the echoes that you already have, make them a bit more useful. Maybe you have a really good echo, but it just doesn't have crit rate or crit damage. You can use that substat changer once and introduce the stat to it, and replace it with something else like flat attack. So this is pretty good, but I don't want them to give out substat changers like candy like they have with the main stat changer. The main stat changers, you can just hoard a bunch of them, and you can have like over 100. I had over 100 when I got Augusta, and I've been using them like crazy to optimize her stats. So, and I'll probably use them like crazy again for Yuno as well. And not once during that, I thought to myself, damn, I really want a substat changer. Also, it does help the fact that I have like 12,000 tuners, so that probably also helps. Anyway, minor but still annoying. The following are not deal breakers. The unspoken issue regarding female rover's English VA. They don't like her English VA, I guess. Performance is creeping upwards every patch. Low-end players once at stable frame length. Play now. Please don't abandon optimization. Wuthering Waves has been introducing a ton of graphical techniques and methods to make the game look prettier, and it has come at a cost of low-end players just completely getting screwed. I think giving more options to disable all of the new bells and whistles that they added, like blowing grass, burning grass, leaf physics, and all of that, I think having the options to eliminate or mitigate that should be something that they should look into. But I actually don't know if they already have that in game, because I never bothered to change my settings once ray tracing was introduced, because I have a good enough machine, so I don't need to. Part 2, consensus of the community, phase 6. Where the hell is Lupa? Alright, addressing the Lupa thing. Lupa is I've heard conflicting stories. I haven't looked into it myself. People are saying Lupa is part of another hunt, and the other thing is that she's still in Septimont defending the capital. But either way, I do think that they should have here's what they should do if they're not going to have a banner character, especially a previous one, not be a main focus in the next story chapter. Just having Rover talk to them in a short cutscene and explain in detail why they aren't going to show up, I think that would help out a lot. That actually happened in 2.5 with Cardathea. Cardathea, she was with the Black Shores getting treatment, and that's why she didn't appear in 2.5 overall. I think doing the same thing to Lupa would have helped out a lot. Lupa's presence doesn't make the story worse, nor does it make it better, but I think just having that, like, 2-minute cutscene of Lupa saying, "Hey, warrior, I'm doing this thing, I wish you luck, Augusta's pretty strong, I hope you have a good time, maybe you could fight her," something like that. I think that would have been fine. I think this person is just implying that she should be in the story full stop, which I don't agree with. I think that would have taken some focus away from Augusta and Yuno. But this is only 2.6 Part 1. Maybe Lupa shows up in 2.6 Part 2. I don't know. And when the Black Shores, we got to see Buling, not Shorekeeper, not Camellia, not even Alto. But the thing is, Alto doesn't handle communications. I think he's more of like an information broker. So I don't think that's not even Alto's thing. Camellia trains recruits, so she doesn't do that. Shorekeeper's the only one where you can make an argument for, but I forget what exactly. She does something with the Tethys system. I can't remember. I think she's the administrator of the Tethys system. So they would definitely need someone else to fill in the void of communication. And Buling was the best choice. Trust this stranger with my life syndrome, the way Augusta and Yuno, especially Yuno, had a immediate natural bond to Rover. Barely had any spoken characters, treated us like good old friends. Naturally be wary of Rover, and to anyone who played the story, you notice unneeded glances in a game where there's a chance of anything romantic developing, utterly unnecessary. This is something I heavily disagree with as well. Rover won the Aegon with Lupa, so there was already precedent there for Augusta and Yuno to trust him, even without the prophecy of Rover being the unknowable void. So yeah, Rover was the winner of the Aegon, so the two already had precedent to place trust in Rover. And Septimont is also in the nation of gladiators and warriors. And seeing Rover's prowess in combat also gives them more reason to trust and place their lives in Rover's hands. So this is also something that just doesn't make any sense. This is too rushed. The whole plot should have started at 2.0, slowly building up to this climax. I don't know what this OP is talking about here. Same old general pacing. Pacing still needs work. Miracle performance, but sadly we're back to same old pacing problems. It's slow midway to epic cinematic climax as usual. The pacing midway was pretty slow, but it wasn't that slow. The whole Murmur's Town thing, I think people now are just blowing it completely out of proportion. So, I don't think this is as big of a problem as people say. I think this person just saw Ancient's tweet about how much he disliked the pacing, but even Ancient themselves went back and said that when they watched reactions from other streamers, they ended up liking it a lot more. So I think this is just an OP problem, maybe. I don't know. And music with vocals during conversations is a terrible idea. As been mentioned, please, I beg you, don't use music that has lyrics during conversations. But it's distraction, perhaps during boss fight, but not mid-conversation. I never had this issue of the vocals getting in the way of the story and getting in the way of conversation. This is just me, but I don't know. I never had this issue either. We get what you're trying to do, but it's very distracting. Yeah, I never had a problem with this, but apparently some people do. Ending notes, game improvement. Please evaluate the rules of the character story independent from Rover. Not going to happen. Rover is the main character of the story. Made the game the world itself be the main character. They aren't going to do that. Rover is the main character. Give us 4 stars. Fix Huanglong. Don't drop songs. Thank you for reading. Yeah. Overall, I think this entire thing is half good, half terrible. Seems like this person has a big chip on their shoulder with Rover being the main character, and I'm going to explain what I think their problem is. I think their problem with Rover being the main character is the fact that Rover doesn't have a lot of personal stakes, or rather, direct personal stakes in the story. Like, imagine this scenario where Rover was the architect behind the Dark Tide and they're trying to fix their mistakes. That would be a direct personal involvement in the story. I'm not saying that's something that Kuro should do. I'm not saying that's like a spoiler or anything like that. But I'm just explaining like what this person seems to want Rover to be. Or what they think Rover should be if they are going to be the main character. But obviously this person wants Rover to just be a cameraman, like the Traveler from Genshin Impact. I think this person may be, well, judging from the excessive amount of emotes, this image here, and all of the emotes and all of the emojis in the post, I think this person is probably a teenage girl who was a student during the COVID era, and Genshin Impact was probably their was their gateway game, their socialization game. It was the first big game they've ever played where they were able to socialize with other people. And because Genshin Impact left such a strong impression on them, and now Genshin Impact isn't as good as it used to be, they've come to Wuthering Waves, but they don't like the fact that Wuthering Waves doesn't do the exact same things as Genshin does. Mainly Rover being the main character. This is Rover's story. They are the most important part of the narrative, and they will remain the most important part of the narrative. They aren't going to change. Kuro's not going to change, and that isn't going to change either. So, that's something that isn't going to work with the story of Wuthering Waves. And, once again, the fact that they call Rover a Mary Sue shows that they're very inexperienced with writing in general, with writing stories in general, with writing characters in general, playing games where there is a main character. They probably don't have a lot of experience playing those types of games. Me, I grew up playing games like Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10. I played Final Fantasy 6 was my first video game ever. The original NES, well, not NES, but Super Nintendo version, when that was called Final Fantasy 3. I didn't play it all the way. I did eventually, play Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 6 Advanced, when that came out. So, I have a long history of playing Final Fantasy. I played Wild Arms, Star Ocean, Suikoden. I've been playing all of these old JRPGs and playing these old franchises that have been out longer than this person has been alive. And these are stories where there is a central main character to the plot. They are the most important character in the story, and they are the mover and shaker of that story. Think Tidus and Yuna from Final Fantasy X, Cloud, Final Fantasy VII, Squall in Final Fantasy VIII. Think of Claude in Star Ocean 2. These characters are important to the narrative. Think of Rio, Tyr McDole from Suikoden as well. They are the most important characters to the narrative. They are the main protagonists. And it's clear that this person has never experienced anything like that in a story before. They have probably only played Genshin Impact. They are more than likely in their teens, or they're in their early 20s. They're definitely a woman from all the emote spam. So we're dealing with a teenage girl who has very little experience with writing, with storytelling, with writing, and they're only using Genshin Impact as their frame of reference. This is a very dangerous, well, not dangerous, but very misguided way of writing and comparing stories. Because if you only have one frame of reference, you aren't going to make a very good comparison. This person only has one frame of reference, and they made a pretty terrible post as a result, using that sole frame of reference to try and judge criticize the story of Wuthering Waves, and because of that, they're criticizing Wuthering Waves for what it's not what it could be. And that is a very disingenuous and not good thing to do. Alright. Oh man, my voice cracked. I've been talking too much. Alright, with that being said, that's all I have to say regarding this thread. I hope I managed to play good cop enough. I know Saint Tontas, he likes to play bad cop a lot, and that makes a lot of people angry with him all the time, but yeah. This is pretty fun to go over. I like discussing things like this, and if you want to see more of it, please let me know. I'll gladly look at more community posts and give my thoughts on it. So anyway, that is all for today. Thank you guys so much, and thanks for watching. Later.